We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
The Indians once again fell victim to the Yankees last night, now having dropped 12 of their last 14 against New York. In the process, Justin Masterson lasted just 2+ innings, and today he was placed on the disabled list. So the Tribe must rally today and break the skid against the Bronx Bombers. The task will not be easy, though. All-star Masahiro Tanaka takes the mound next on Sports Time Ohio. Welcome in to All-Star Week here on Sports Time Ohio. Tonight, the Indians continue their series against the New York Yankees here at Progressive Field. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Indians, Yankees, it's game 2 of this 4-game series. New York won last night. Tribe will try to even up the series at a game apiece tonight. In the offseason, New York went out and landed Japanese import Masahiro Tanaka with a $155 million contract. And, Rick, that doesn't include the $20 million that they had to pay to his old club in Japan just to get him over here. But he has been everything that everybody thought he was going to be this year.
And then some, to be honest with you. He leads the league in wins with 12. He's second in the league in ERA. And, he's got 3 complete games. This guy is nasty. He's got 5 games where he has double-digit strikeouts. When he gets ahead of you, he can put you away with a nasty splitter. He's 7-1 on the road this year. He's going to be matched up against Trevor Bauer. Now, Bauer at home has pitched very well. He's 2-1. He's 0-1 in his career against the Yankees, but he pitched a good game. They just didn't get him run support. That was last year.
Tanaka, in his first 16 starts this year, went at least 6 innings, never gave up more than 3 earned runs until his last time out when he gave up a whopping 4 earned runs to the Minnesota Twins. Trevor Bauer will try to match Tanaka pitch for pitch tonight and get the Indians back to even in the series. The play-by-play is coming up next. McDonald's, I'm loving it. Buy your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com Toyota, let's go places. By Panini's, get overstuffed at Panini's Bar and Grill. And by Jeep, visit Jeep.com to learn more. From Progressive Field in downtown Cleveland, a beautiful night for baseball. 78 degrees at game time as the Indians take on the New York Yankees tonight. Trevor Bauer on the hill for Cleveland, and he'll be facing this starting lineup for Joe Girardi's Yankees, brought to you by Toyota. Brett Gardner in the leadoff spot, followed by Derek Jeter. Jacoby Ellsbury batting third, Mark Teixeira cleanup. Then it's Brian McCann, followed by Brian Roberts. Then Ichiro, who had 3 hits last night, followed by Kelly Johnson, and Zealous Wheeler getting the start at third base tonight, batting ninth.
Our GMC starting pitcher is Trevor Bauer, who is making his 11th start this year. His record's 2-4, 442 earned run average, coming off a no decision. You know, he's pitched well. He just hasn't had a whole lot of run support. He has made 1 start in his career against New York, that coming last year. He pitched a good game but lost. He pitched a 6 1/3, 6 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned runs, and took the loss. Let's set the Kia defense behind Bauer this evening. It looks like this. In the outfield will be Dickerson in left, Brantley in center, Murphy is in right, Chisenhall at third, Cabrera is at short, Kipnis at second, Swisher gets the start at first base, John Gomes behind the plate.
Manny Gonzalez calling the balls and strikes. Tom Woodring at first, Brian Knight at second, and Fielding Colbert, the crew chief, is down at third. Ready to go now as Brett Gardner steps in for New York. Bauer into the line at tonight's first pitch, a little bit high, ball 1. Gardner last night had 3 hits in 5 trips. Fastball in there to even the count at 1-1. The Yankees, with their win last night, go to 2 games over the 500 mark. 3.5 back of front-running Baltimore in the AL East as Bauer pounds the strike zone to get ahead. New York currently beginning the night in third place in the Eastern Division. Indians also in third place in the AL Central. They're 6.5 back of front-running Detroit. A little bit low, 2-2.
Gardner's done a nice job in that leadoff spot, reaching safely in 22 straight games, going back to the 13th of June.
Bauer shaking him off a couple of times as Yan Gomes throws down a number of different fingers. The 2-2. Missed up high with a breaking ball.
You know, Bauer's last start, if you remember, out in L.A., it took him a couple of innings to get a feel for that slow curveball. That's been a very effective pitch for him against left-handers this year. And it seems like early in the game he has a tendency to rush it, and it stays up in the zone.
Well, he missed inside, ball 4. Gardner draws a leadoff walk. Keys to the game brought to you by Wayside Furniture. For the Indians tonight, Trevor Bauer, avoid the big inning. For the hitters, got to get ahead in the count against Tanaka because when he gets to 2 strikes, he's devastating. And we'll talk about this as the game goes on. Justin Masterson to the disabled list. What does that mean for the Indians' pitching rotation? Derek Jeter steps in, 1 for 4 with an RBI last night. Jeter, of course, playing in his final season with the Yankees, so it's his last stop here at Progressive Field. And he takes a called strike. Seems like with every plate appearance, every swing of the bat, Derek Jeter passes someone of note in baseball history. One more double would give him the all-time Yankee lead in doubles. Line foul on the right side.
And that's where you would expect to see a double, wouldn't you, to right field? How many times and how many doubles? We were talking about it yesterday before the game. You think have come to right field and right center the way he stays on the baseball.
And especially for whatever reason in Yankee Stadium, even though they've got the short porch in right field, he wears out right center field in that ballpark and always has.
Well, he waits on the baseball so well, and and he inside outs it, and he's notorious for that. But if you make a mistake with you, and later in the game, if he has a track record, he can turn on it as well, but not like he used to.
Low throw dug out by Swisher. Gardner back. He has 15 steals on the year.
Yeah, he was thrown out last night, and they better take witness because Gomes has been hot. 10 out of his last 14 base stealers he has thrown out. You give him an opportunity, and he'll get you.
Set up off the plate, and Jeter drives one to center field. Back goes Brantley, still going back. It's over his head. He makes the over-the-shoulder catch right in front of the wall, and Gardner has to sprint all the way back to first.
How about that running catch?
Dr. Smooth at it again because he just glided back, made it look effortless, Rick.
I got to tell you, this is going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it because Jeter hit that ball well, but he had a nice route on the baseball. And he just continues to track it down. You can see Gardner come into your picture, and he sees Brantley catch the ball. He's got to make a U-turn. And look at the line right over that ball. His shoulder, a nice running catch. He's great in left field, but he can certainly play center as well. Doesn't matter.
You didn't know any better. You thought he'd been playing out there all year long.
Yeah, he could play center field. There's no question about it, and play it well.
Well, here's Jacoby Ellsbury now. Lost in the terrific catch by Brantley is the fact that was an 0-2 pitch. So not where Bauer wanted it. Trying to find that command here in the early going. Ellsbury last night was 0 for 5.
Robbed a couple times by Santana at first base.
Two 2-0 the count now for Ellsbury. Gomes rifles it to first, and he's called safe. It was very close. It looked like the ball beat him, but maybe Gardner going for the backside of the bag was able to elude the tag.
Boy, that's the quick. And you know what? You slide to the back part. He did get the hand in before Swisher could tag him. And that's where you shoot for. If you're a base runner and you know they're coming back, that makes that tag that much longer. You have to sweep it, and he just did get the hand to the back of the bag. There's where you can tell.
Yeah, Swisher looked like he just missed him on the tag.
On
Otherwise,
the arm.
I think he would have had him.
I agree with you.
On this current road trip for New York, Ellsbury, 4 hits and 23 at bats. Line to left. And Dickerson plays it on a hop. Stopping at second base is Gardner. And the Yankees have 2 on with 1 out here in the first.
Looked like it might have been a change of pace. Change up, and he stayed on it. It was up a little bit. So the first hit for the Yankees, but right now, after the leadoff walk, Jeter, a nice running catch by Brantley. Bauer trying to struggle to get outs.
Mark Teixeira steps in now. He's DHing tonight, 0 for 4 in the series opener last night. And a first pitch strike. And time called. TEIXEIRA couldn't hold up, and the count is 0-2.
TEIXEIRA couldn't hold up. He's get the look at from the side. He didn't think so, but he certainly did.
That's blooped to left center. That's dropping. Fall. Dickerson with a dive, can't get to it. Kicks it into center field, coming around third. Gardner's going to try to score, and he will. So Dickerson went for the all-out diving catch and inadvertently kicked it about 20 yards away from him.
Well, he had
and that
to try
allowed Gardner to come home and score.
You had to try it that way. It wasn't hit that hard. You figure if you miss it, it's going to stay right there. But with his momentum, that pitch is elevated. It jammed him. It was not a bad pitch. He popped it up, and there's just hit the ground, and then it flies out of his glove. Gardner went back to, that was a tweener. You know, it's tough as a base runner. You can't really go too far. But he was able to restart with the ricochet and score. So New York on the board again first.
Well, here's Brian McCann. McCann had a big night with hits in each of his first 3 trips to the plate last night. Bounced foul. New York built a 5-0 lead early, and they held on to win it 5-3. Breaking ball, that one's in for a strike. And that's fouled off to the left. Early inning woes now the last 2 games for the Indians as Bauer tries to work himself out of this first inning mess. The only out recorded was a fly ball to deep center field. Now the 2-strike pitch with the runners going. Swing and a miss. Throw down to second base into center field. Another run will score. So you get a strikeout for the second out of the inning. But the error by Gomes, who has been throwing so well of late, allows that second run to score for New York.
Well, he threw it from his knees. They had the double steal on, knowing a breaking ball was coming. Somebody must have known. And then he just throws from his knees and into center field. So that allows Ellsbury to come around and score when it goes into center field. See Cabrera trying to get up, and that's way over his head. 73rd error for the Indians, and it gives the Yankees another run.
Ryan Roberts steps in. And a pitch up high for ball 1. Roberts 2 for 4 last night with a double. Down in the dirt. And the 2-0 delivery is up high. Ichiro waiting on deck. If Roberts reaches here in the first. Takes a swing at the 3-0 pitch and a big hop for Cabrera. Able to throw him out to end the inning. The Yankees get 2, 1 an unearned run, and they have the early lead. The Indians are coming to bat. Well, the Indians come to bat here in the bottom of the first, and the Tribe starting 9 for Terry Francona, presented by Progressive. Jason Kipnis, Asdrubal Cabrera, Michael Brantley at the top. Then it's Santana, Chisenhall, and Swisher. David Murphy, Yan Gomes heating up, batting 8th, who homered last night, and Chris Dickerson will bat 9th.
Our GMC starting pitcher, Masahiro Tanaka, is 12-3, leading the league in wins, second in ERA. Look at 18 walks, 130 strikeouts, impeccable control. He has given up 13 home runs, though. 5 homers in the last 6 games. He's given up, but so when he gets ahead of you, he's got a couple kind of splitters. One he could throw for a strike, it seems like, any time. Another one, when he gets ahead of you, it's down, it's out of the zone, and that's his strikeout pitch. I wouldn't, if I was a hitter, first time through, wouldn't want to spot him a whole lot. Like that.
Right up the middle. And Kipnis is aboard to start for the Tribe.
You get out there, you look for that first fastball, and he gets it and just get after it. And he finds a hole right back up the middle. Never facing him before. You don't want to let him settle in. You got to see if you can get to him early, because when he gets settled in, he's tough. He did give up 4 earned runs in his last start. That's the most he's given up all year, but he did get a win because his offense was there.
And as Asdrubal Cabrera looks at a ball down low. Cabrera was 1 for 3 last night. Drove in a run for the Indians. Swung on and missed. Tanaka's numbers are pretty impressive across the board when you look at everything that he's already accomplished this year. 12-3, a 2.27 earned run average. But the one thing that I find really amazing is Ken Singleton, longtime Yankee announcer, former contemporary of yours, said that Tanaka this year, when he faces a team for the first time, 10-0 with a 1.85 earned run average.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise. That's how good his stuff is.
And when you're not familiar with it, down in the dirt.
Now, this is how you want to start. I mean, it's the first inning. You're only in your second hitter, but the 3-1 count. Kipnis got on the first fastball. So what it did, maybe it started forcing him to throw that splitter a little early, and he's got to get a feel for it yet. Game just starting. Let's see what he throws when he's behind in the count. That's another thing they'll be watching for in the dugout. 3-1 situations, 2-0.
High fly ball center field. Ellsbury backing up, and he'll make the catch. One away. Let's go down to Katie Witham, and she's got more on Tanaka and how the Indians are looking at this right-hander tonight.
Well, Matt, the way they're looking at him is he's better than advertised. Rick, you mentioned his nasty splitter. Well, the guys in the clubhouse today actually compared him to Seattle's Felix Hernandez in the way that the pitch out of his hand looks like a hittable one, but as you're starting to swing, it trickles out of the zone at the point when it's just too late. So the key for them, communication in the dugout in between at-bats, and the first 2 innings trying to see as many pitches as possible.
Well, and that splitter acts like a Hernandez changeup. The only other Japanese guy they faced was Yu Darvish in Texas, and you remember they spotted you a 4-0 lead, but they battled back and hit him really well.
They really did.
Although Darvish got the win in that game, but Darvish has the slider. This guy has the splitter, and Hernandez has the changeup. You know, that goofy changeup that he can throw at different speeds.
You know, the Yankees scouted him extensively a year ago. And to say they liked what they saw is an understatement. Kipnis takes off, pitches down and in, throw to second, not even close. And Kipnis has himself stolen base number 9.
There you go. Yeah, stay aggressive. Kipnis, you can see the lead. He got a very good jump. McCann comes up. The throw is high. And Kipnis had a really good jump. That throw would have had to be perfect if they were going to even think about getting him.
Michael Brantley had 2 hits last night. A hit here could get the Indians on the board in the first. Fastball just missed. And it's 2-1. I think if I had been scouting Tanaka last year, I could have told you that he's going to be pretty good.
24-0?
24-0 with a 1.27 ERA in Japan. That was in 27 starts.
And came out in this league in his first, what did he win, his first 6 starts?
Ripped to right field, a base hit, down into the corner it goes. Kipnis will score. Brantley into second base with an RBI double. For Michael, it's RBI number 58 on the year, and it's double number 21.
There you go. They come right back and answer. A nice job offensively. And, of course, Michael Brantley, the guy that's going to get it started and drive in the Indians' first run. That was a little splitter. It looked like on the inner part of the plate. Michael turns on it, drilled it down into the corner. 58th ribby, 21st double. So the Indians come back. They're on the board. It's 2-1 now.
Now Carlos Santana takes aim. And a big breaking ball in for a strike. Up and in, 1 ball, 1 strike.
There you go. You start him off with something really slow, a get me over breaking ball, and then he buzzes him to get it, move his feet, get him off the plate. Let him know that he's going to pitch inside. We'll see if he goes with that little split or something down and away now.
By the way, Rick, that hit by Michael Brantley was just the 12th allowed by Tanaka this year with a runner in scoring position.
There's the split that he can throw for a strike, and Carlos tried to pull it. Bounced it in the ground. That's a tough pitch to try and pull right there. It's going down and away from the barrel of your bat. This is the first batter now, the fourth hitter he's faced that he's been ahead of. Let's see if he goes to that nasty splitter that is down and around the dirt. That's the pitch hitters have to lay off if you get to 2 strikes. That's his strikeout pitch.
It's almost like, Rick, the knuckleball philosophy. If it's low, let it go, because chances are it's going to drop out of the strike zone.
He can throw the fastball there and keep it straight on line. And we'll see if he does it tonight. But you're right. I would let it go if it starts off low.
Santana did not there. He chased, and he is the first strikeout victim of Tanaka tonight. 2 down in the inning.
We look at this. This is not the splitter. This is a slider. You see that one going the other way. A little slide piece that goes straight down. You can see the spin. Look at the little dot on the baseball. Santana swings over the top. Out number 2.
Now here's Lonnie Chisenhall as the Indians look for that 2-out RBI hit. And this is where Tanaka has really been tough this year. With runners in scoring position and 2 outs, the opposition is 4 for 36 against him. Another reason why he hasn't given up many runs at all. I mentioned before, he had not given up more than 3 earned runs in any of his first 16 starts. And then his last time out in start number 17, the Twins got him for 4 earned runs in 7 innings of work. That's his worst start of the year.
Pretty good run at it, isn't it, for 17 starts?
You're going to have a clunker every once in a while.
You would think so, but if that's his clunker.
And the Yankees still won that game.
Well, that's what happens. When you have a guy on the mound like this, if you can go out and score early, and that's how they feel, you just turn it over to him and he can shut it down. But the Indians were able to respond, at least get 1 on the board.
Just a bit outside. And it's 3-1 now for Lonnie.
So now the Indians with their second hitter with a 3-1 count. Cabrera had it. He swung and tried to hit one out and popped it up to deep center.
The 3-1 delivery is low and away. Ball 4. Haven't been many walks issued by Tanaka. That's only the 19th he has allowed this year.
Let's check out the key of defense for the New York Yankees tonight. In the outfield, it's Gardner in left, Ellsbury in center, Ichiro over in right. Wheeler gets the start at third tonight. Jeter at short, Roberts at second. Johnson is at first, McCann behind the plate. That was a patient at bat for Chisenhall there. Take the 3-1, take the walk, keep it going. Let the next guy in line try and do it.
Low and away, ball one. Nick Swisher homered last night against his old club. Tanaka delivers, and it's outside, 2-0. Two on, two out here, bottom of the first. Indians down a run. Swisher with a long drive to deep right, but out in front of it, foul. And out goes the catcher, Brian McCann.
Well, it looked like he got a high fastball up there, and he just turned on it, and it was turned on a little early. He knew it was foul.
So McCann had his say. And a little chopper towards first. Tanaka takes it to end the inning. Michael Brantley delivers an RBI double here in the first. The Indians are on the board. They trail it 2-1. Yankees with a 2-1 lead. New York will send Ichiro, Suzuki, Kelly Johnson, and Zealous Wheeler to the plate here in inning number 2. Ichiro had 3 hits last night, and they were all sort of typical Ichiro fashion, weren't they?
Yes, no question. He can top them. You get him, he'll get the infield hits. Hit him on the left side of the infield and run if it's not right at you.
And he slaps it into left field, a base hit. So back go the Yankees to work here in inning number 2.
Yeah, you watch how he handles the bat up the plate. Last night he just takes it the other way. He's got that patented swing down. He'll roll over on one and beat it out. That's where the mistake was made there. And then another one. I mean, he tops it, and once Zipchitsky couldn't get there, he beats it out. Get him a couple infield hits and the patented left field stroke. Seen it for years.
Now here's Kelly Johnson. Fastball up high, ball 1. Low, 2-0. Ichiro drawing a throw and able to get back with a dive.
Now, if you pay attention to Ichiro, he doesn't run a whole lot. It's when you don't pay attention to him that he'll take off. And he can still steal a base. He has 6 out of 8.
Missed in off the plate, 3-0.
His second 3-0 count. He's had 3 2-0 counts. So Bauer pitching from behind tonight.
Well, first 2 are reached here in the second inning. Injury report brought to you by the attorneys at Elk & Elk, and the Indians were very busy today. Justin Masterson was placed on the disabled list with a right knee problem. Roberto Perez got the call up from AAA Columbus. To make room for Perez, Mark Lowe was designated for assignment. Tyler Holt was sent back to Columbus, and Nick Hagedorn was recalled to help out the bullpen. So that's everything that's happened up to this point as you take a look at Masterson. We'll have more on Justin's situation. We'll hear from pitching coach Mickey Callaway on what the plan is going forward. Right now, Zealous Wheeler bunting. Back to the mound, and Bauer will throw him out down at first. Time now for our Here Right Audiology Sounds of the Game. Here is Mickey Callaway on what the Indians plan to do with Masterson now.
We got to get him feeling right where he can really go out there and get some good work in on his mechanics. You know, once he gets all the inflammation, everything out of that knee, we can go out there and really attack, you know, his mechanics. I think we're going to take more of a spring training approach and try to get off the mound every other day for about 3 or 4 times, you know, which is a big workload. And but it also will get him prepared to go out there and repeat. So we've got a game plan in place, you know, and this is a good timing with the All-Star break. We have 3 days off where, you know, they still count to his DL time, and I think we're going to be able to get him right in this period.
Well, that certainly is the hope. Right now, second and third with 1 out. Brett Gardner, the batter. And a pitch inside for ball 1.
He's having a tough time commanding the fastball today.
And there's a fastball strike. In the meantime, with regards to Masterson, Rick, the Indians will need another starter before the weekend is over. And then coming out of the All-Star break, the Indians have a doubleheader.
Day-nighter, yes.
So they'll need...
Well, you can call one up.
They can get an extra pitcher added for that, just for that specific game.
And then there's no off days after that, and they go on a 10-day trip. So who knows? They may need 6 starters.
1-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. Certainly guys like Zach McAllister, Danny Salazar.
I'm thinking McAllister because if you look and you go down there, I think it's on McAllister's day. for Masterson's next start. So that makes the most sense to me logically.
Yeah, he would be the logical guy just because, I mean, he was pitching in this rotation before he went down with an injury. Salazar could be a candidate for that doubleheader affair in Detroit.
I would think that's right also. You may see both of them.
1-2 pitch. No good block by Gomes.
Yankees have been playing very good baseball on the road. They're 9-5 in their last 14 road games. You look at their record, they played better on the road than they have at home. They're 27-20 compared to 18-23 at home.
Ground ball to short. Cabrera will take the out at first, but another run comes home, and New York leads it now 3-1. Tell you what we've seen from New York in the first game and couple of innings here tonight is the small ball version of the Yankees.
Well, yeah, they're big guys. If they're not hitting home runs, that's what they have to do. And you needed a ground ball. The infield was back, and Gardner gives you that. So you get the run home. You don't have to get base hits. They sacrificed him over. Wheeler, a rookie that had a pinch hit appearance last night. He lays one down, gets the job done. They get a run home.
Whoa, another good block by Gomes.
Bauer just looked out to the side. He can't believe where he threw that. And Gomes he did that last night with Masterson with the bases loaded one inning where he saved him. Look at this one. That's about in the same spot where Masterson threw one last night, to be honest with you.
Throw it by Derek Jeter, up above the belt at 96 miles an hour.
I mean, all right, here's last night with Masterson, bases loaded. Look at this. Almost the same spot. His was a little farther to the left-handed batter's box. But Gomes was up for the...
Yeah.
He was right there. Back-to-back nights in the same boat.
His native Brazil could have used him in goal today in their World Cup game.
Yeah, right.
Bounce to short. Cabrera will scoop it up and throw him out. The inning is over. The Yankees get the run back. We'll go to the bottom of the second. New York 3, Cleveland 1. Ohio Honda dealers. By the Cleveland Clinic. Call today for an appointment today. And by the Northeast Ohio Ford dealers. Yan Gomes talking with Trevor Bauer in the dugout. Yankees out to an early 3-1 lead And for Cleveland, Murphy, Gomes, Dickerson due up here in the second. Murphy with a line drive base hit in the right field. Ichiro will cut it off. Second straight inning, the Indians have a leadoff single against Tanaka. Right now, time for a Mazda game break. Here's Al Pawlowski.
Hey, Matt, Rick, let's go to Detroit. The Dodgers taking on the Tigers. Justin Verlander struggling in the first inning. Juan Uribe, 2-run homer here, his 5th of the year, caps off a 5-run first inning. Still 5-0, Dodgers, second inning. Matt?
All right, thanks a lot, Al. Here's Yan Gomes now. Gomes takes a strike. Yan with a homer last night for the Indians.
Yeah, he picked down a nice low David Huff fastball that he hit into the seats.
In fact, he's homered in each of his last 2 games.
Yeah, the Indians have homered in 6 straight.
Rips that foul.
You know, watch, he's a great low ball hitter, and watch him hit this. This is right in his nitro zone from last night. That didn't take long, and he knew it was going to get out of here in a hurry. I'll tell you, they made a spirited effort to come back in that game. The bullpen was outstanding. 7 innings of shutout baseball after being down, you know, that 5-0. They did a nice job. They had opportunities. Those are tough games to win. Well, for the second straight inning, though, you had Murphy. He jumped on that first Tanaka fastball and got the base hit. So both left-handers did that in the first 2 innings. And why not? When you can put the ball in play on Tanaka first pitch, they're hitting 345 off him.
Gomes strikes out, 1 away. Second strikeout for Tanaka.
You know, and we talk about his splitter, but he also, to the right-handers, there's a good slider. And if I'm not mistaken, it looks like he has a little cutter too, Matt. You know, the cutter, the slider, the fastball, he's not overpowering anywhere from 88 to 91. And maybe if he needs a little more, he can reach back in times with guys in scoring position.
Boy, that's why if you're facing him that first time, you're almost just give me something I can see early in the count that I can get after. Chris Dickerson in his Indians debut last night, 1 for 2. Up and away. Ball 1. Dickerson, a California native. Graduated high school in Sherman Oaks. Came to the Indians yesterday after a trade between the Indians and Pirates.
Little backdoor slider there.
One and one to count. Two and one. What would the horns be when he puts down the?
I'm thinking split. As I said, he said two. He's got 2 splitters. He went 5. And I'm not sure exactly what that was. And then he went, I was thinking split. Then he went to the fastball. And that fastball is just the moving fastball going away. There's the split.
Hook 'em horns.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's the split. 2 fingers apart. That would be my guess. And guess what? It was a fastball. Check it out, though, on our Nissan pitch tracker. Paint inside corner right at the knees. You know, that's the fastball.
Yeah.
You asked, now you know. And it was an excellent location.
Four-seam fastball, probably.
Yeah.
That's what that signal would be for. And now Dickerson has worked the count full, 3-2. See if Terry Francona, you wouldn't think he'd be in a gambling mood this early in the game. Down a couple of runs, but he might.
Why not? Go ahead.
Murphy holds, and Dickerson bounces it to short.
That's
Jeter
right.
to Roberts, but not in time for the double play. They do erase Murphy, so there are 2 down. Don't forget, you can tweet your photos to us using the hashtag STOFanPhoto for a chance to have them shown during one of our telecasts. It's all courtesy of AT&T. Jason Kipnis singled and scored in the first. Picked up his 9th stolen base of the year along the way. Kipnis lines one left center field. Ellsbury cuts it off. Dickerson on his way to third. Kipnis holds with a 2-out single. So he's 2 for 2. And the Indians looking for some 2-out lightning now here in the second.
Well, Kipnis puts a nice swing on the baseball here. He hit the first pitch last time. He got another little sinking fastball. Stayed on it nicely and went to left center field with it. Good swing. So a 2-out single. It'll be first and third now. It'll turn it over to Cabrera and give him an opportunity. Had his second hit last night with a runner in scoring position and 2 outs.
Cabrera fly to center his first time up. He did send Ellsbury pretty good distance back in center field, just about to the warning track. Time had been called before the pitch was delivered. Kipnis takes off and has himself a stand-up stolen base.
Why not? They're just giving it to him.
His second of the game. And now 2 in scoring position.
Yeah, they want to give it to you. You certainly take it. They weren't going to throw through. Dickerson's on at third, and Kipnis was thinking a slide and then realized nobody's covering, so I'll just walk in there.
Missed inside. 2 balls, no strikes.
Second consecutive at bat that Cabrera has had the count in his favor. He had a 3-1 pitch he hit the center last time. He's looking at a 2-0 pitch now.
He tried to hold up, but I think he went around and he did. Says home plate umpire Manny Gonzalez.
Right there's guessing that you're going to get a fastball, and you don't. And then you try and hold up. That was like a little cutter coming in. It wasn't a straight pitch. And that comes from not having a book on the guy. You know, you don't know what he throws in that situation. You're expecting a fastball. It looks like a fastball. You start, and you couldn't hold up.
Just a bit inside, 3-1.
Yeah, it was a good pitch, but it's just in off the plate. You can see it. It's close. My goodness. I'm sure there's times you get that pitch. But not tonight.
And so Cabrera, with runners at second and third and 2 down, awaits the 3-1 from Tanaka. And a ground ball towards second base. Roberts will throw him out. Indians threaten, but they do not score. And after 2, it's New York 3, Cleveland 1.
Corey Kluber is the final American League All-Star. Go to Indians.com and cast your vote for the All-Star final vote. Send Corey Kluber to the All-Star game in Minnesota. Voting will end at 4 p.m. this Thursday.
The signs are everywhere. Players once again today during batting practice came out with their T-shirts sporting the logo, Vote Kluber. Jacoby Ellsbury leading off the third for New York, singled and scored in the first. Now the 1-1. In off the plate. Yankees have had their leadoff man aboard each of the first 2 innings and make that 3 for 3 as that ball went right through the wickets on Lonnie Chisenhall. That'll be an error on the Indians' third baseman. His 12th on the year.
Let's take a look at this. It looked like it went right between his legs.
I thought he was going to catch it on the fly, to be honest with you.
It almost looked like he didn't even see the ball.
Well, he should have caught it on the fly. I think that's what he thought he was going to do, and somehow.
That was strange. Second error of the night for the Indians.
Wow, that was weird looking.
That was weird. It's almost like he lost something in the crowd or something. It just didn't look like he saw the ball.
Second error already tonight for the Tribe, and Mark Teixeira, who drove in a run his first time up, is the batter now. Runner goes. Gomes with a good throw, but Ellsbury beats it.
Well, Ellsbury, the premier base stealer in this league, he is as good as they get.
His second steal tonight.
Yeah, he doesn't waste any time, man. He gets out there and he's going to go. I mean, if you give good base stealers are going to get their bases. Look at and when he accelerates after his first step, he's it seems like at full speed. Not many guys are like that. That's 25 for him.
Yeah, that's like Kenny Lofton fast.
Yeah, I mean, you
One
take
step
that
and you're
first
full
step,
go.
and the next thing you know, you're at full speed. That's right. Open up the floodgates.
Fouled back. 1-2 the count. The 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Bauer gets his second strikeout tonight. One down here in the third. Well, we were talking about voting for Corey Kluber. And, you know, in order to pull this off, you've got to have some tech savvy. And Katie Witham says Terry Francona is one of those people. Really?
Yes, really. Actually, earlier today, 10:30 in the morning, he got on the computer. I think somebody helped him. But from 10:30 until around 3:30 this afternoon, he was on voting for his starting pitcher, Corey Kluber. Remember, you guys can do it at home, too. Just log on to Indians.com. Impressive, though, right, Matt?
Very much so.
Will you come to my house and help me, Katie?
I think I might be able to do
Thank
that
you.
if you're
I
good.
Appreciate it.
You got to be
if
good.
You said Terry needs help, I need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but did you notice? Not only did Tito have the laptop and he was working, but he had the cell phone right there with him too.
That was a prop.
He's got. You're saying it wasn't real?
Yeah, it wasn't real. That was a prop. He was texting somebody else.
Brian McCann struck out in the first inning. Fisted over the head of Cabrera. Ellsbury with a full head of steam around third. He'll stop there as Dickerson gets off a good throw to home plate.
Yeah, it's one of those balls he had to wait. You know, he wasn't sure. It was a soft line drive. He didn't get a lot of it. And he had to wait to see if Cabrera was going to reach it. And then by the time it gets over his head, he just didn't have time to start. See, and that's what you do. You freeze pretty much on that drive, and he's just going to have to hold up. So it's now first and third. Double play is still in order if he can get a ground ball. But you don't want to let him score again. It's already 3-1, and this inning started with an error. So the Yankees get an extra out in the inning, and they're going to try and take advantage of it.
Now Brian Roberts ground out his first time up. Takes ball one. Yeah, back in your day, I remember we'd go to the ballpark and get the old all-star ballots.
Start punching them out.
With the pencil, get a sharp pencil and start punching the holes out.
Right. Well, I bet, you texted me your picture of your breakfast today with the DiCamillo's bread, so I bet you were up on your computer voting for Kluber, right?
That's right. Breakfast with Kluber. But could you have even remotely imagined back then where all-star voting would go today?
No.
I mean, imagine
5 million. I mean, these guys are getting 5 million votes.
Imagine if I'd have come up to you in, say, 1978 and said, "Hey, you know, Rick, about 35 years, you'll be able to vote from your phone. You'll be able to call it up on your phone, and you'll push some buttons, and you vote for the All-Star."
I wouldn't have believed you.
No.
I still don't because I can't vote for you.
There are smartphones, and then there's what you have.
Hold on.
The 2-1 pitch swung on and missed. The phone that you use today makes the phone that Don Johnson used in Miami Vice look trendy.
That's good. That was my idol, Don Johnson.
Bauer trying to work his way out of another jam here in the third. Pitch count piling up.
Oh, he fell. He fell. And, oh, boy, that helped. The
Gomes
umpire
was able to pounce on it.
Is he all right? He slipped on the mound on his landing foot there, and that ball bounced in. And if it didn't get a piece of the umpire, that would have went to the screen. Watch him coming into home plate. He falls. See that heel caught on the dirt. And then Gomes, it hits him, and then it hit the umpire and falls. That saves him a run. His heel caught in it. It's a breaking ball. It's way out in front as he's falling. Watch the ball come out. Boom, boom. It hit the umpire. Heel, it caught. Umpire saved the day.
And another 3-2 pitch. Fouled right back. Terry Francona had to use his bullpen extensively last night, hoping for some length from Bauer here tonight. But, boy, he's had to grind through every inning.
Grinding is right.
Ellsbury's at third, McCann at first. And 3-2 to Roberts is popped up. Chisenhall coming in for it. Kipnis calls him off and makes the catch. 2 down. Right now on FoxSportsOhio.com. Get in the game. Click on the Game Day Live page. Check out why Corey Kluber deserves to be an All-Star. And Sam Amico has the latest on LeBron Pandemonium. It's all on today's headlines. FoxSportsOhio.com. Now, Ichiro Suzuki singled and scored in the second inning. Bats here with runners at the corners and 2 down in the third. Out of play. There's Ellsbury, who led off the inning when he reached on an error. And McCann over at first. The 0-2 pitch. Bounced in front of the plate, and Gomes with another good job to smother.
He's getting some work back there, isn't he? This is about 3 or 4 that he's had in the dirt. That was nicely done.
And those are those ones that bounce in front of the plate are the tricky ones because you don't know where they're going to go.
They have the spin, and a lot of times they'll bounce back the other way. That's 7, Bo tells me, in the dirt that Gomes has had to dust off.
And the 1-2 pitch. Another one out in front of the plate. Now Bauer is putting a lot of faith in Yan Gomes.
Man, that one got some skin.
Yeah.
See, watch him. That got the thumb and the finger. And now you got to go up and hit after that. I'll tell you what, that's a tough position to be behind, having to block those things. You got a man on third base, you're calling for it, and your pitcher is all over the place. And that's exactly what Bauer is tonight, all over.
2-2 pitch. A good fastball. It was up and in, and Ichiro had a glance off the bat, so the count stays 2-2.
Well, he started to swing and he was holding up. He just turned. A little deflection.
Another foul out of play.
Oh, yes, a young fella just put his glove up and made a beautiful catch. Nice job, young man. Look at him. Boy, you talk about being humbled. I mean, he just put his glove up, Matt, and went right in. It was beautiful. Nice catch. Let me see it. You don't think he's going to be the hero in that booth tonight? Look at that.
That's outstanding.
It really was.
Now the 2-2 from Bauer. Breaking ball, and Ichiro able to lay off.
Yeah,
full
that's
count.
a veteran right there, just able to lay off that big hook. Tantalizing hook. I mean, watch this. You figure you're going to swing at it. That was a good pitch, and he just spits on it and says, I'm not buying it.
That's the great faith he has always had in his hands, to just wait.
Yeah.
Swing at the last second if he has to. Runner goes at first. 3-2 hit on the ground to first, and Swisher will have an easy play here to end the inning. So Bauer holds the Yankees off the board for the first time tonight. 3-1 New York. Is the star of the game so far with a great play he made up in the suite level.
Yeah, look at this.
People are coming down to take their pictures with him now. Hey, can I get a picture with you? Our stat of the game brought to you by Buick. Michael Brantley has gone 56 consecutive plate appearances without a strikeout this year.
That's very impressive.
Longest streak by Denard Span of the Nationals. Both Brantley and Escobar, they still have their streaks intact.
You know, it's impressive. Bo told me, but the last 200 pitches he swung and missed twice.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Well, we know he's been good, but that's amazing.
It's very impressive. Well, because he has such a good eye. He is very patient. That's what makes him such a great hitter with guys on base. You have to work hard to get him out.
Longest by an Indians player since Matt Lawton went 61 plate appearances without a strikeout back in 04.
Law dog.
One pitch. Bounce to first. Johnson's throw to Tanaka. And that's out number one. I know players don't usually like to talk about streaks of any kind, but Michael Brantley did talk to Katie Witham about what he's doing so well this year at the plate. Katie has more on that now.
Well, Matt, it's really a difference in his approach. This season, he's thinking a lot more offensively than he is defensively, which is what he did last year. For example, in a 1-0 or a 2-0 count, he used to take that fastball. This year, he's not. He's looking for a good pitch to hit early, and he's really focusing every single time, putting a good swing on the ball.
Yeah, and when he does, he usually finds the barrel.
Well, that's what you earn. I mean, when you're a hitter and you get yourself into hitters' counts, that's your chance to go ahead and get aggressive. I mean, you look for that one good pitch, you get your fastball. It doesn't have to be in or out. Just be aggressive with it. And that's all part of learning the game and learning pitchers and how they have patterns with how they like to get you out. Different teams will pitch you differently.
Santana strokes one down the right field line. Foul by inches. Michael Brantley's first time up, Rick. Take us through this at-bat.
Well, it's a 2-1 count, and he got a pitch on the inside corner, and he put a really good swing on it. He kept it fair. He hit it down the line. 2-1 count. When you have the count in your favor, you can be a lot more aggressive.
Well, you've always said, too, a 2-1 pitch, you should never foul it the other way. You get a pitch like that, you should foul it.
I mean, it was in his wheelhouse, 2-0, 3-1. You don't push it off or fight it off. You put a really good swing on it. I mean, you try to do it. You're not going to do it every time, but that's what you work for as a hitter. Hitting's very difficult.
Oh, did you see the wicked move? That was I think that was just a changeup. But
it might have been. You're right, because that was, I mean, just watch the movement. That looked like a straight change.
Tanaka now with a 2-2. Low and a full count. Boy, breaking ball got him looking. Third strikeout for Tanaka, 2 down here in the inning. Well, we know Michael Brantley is Dr. Smooth. We know Corey Kluber is the quiet, unassuming star of the pitching staff. Here's Terry Francona on the two of those players.
I think those guys are twins. I mean that. I mean, they are. I told somebody that today. They're probably not paternal, but they're like identical. Their makeup, they both of them are quiet. They go about their business. They're kind of cut out of the same cloth.
Lonnie Chisenhall, meantime, grounds one to second base. Roberts throws him out, and the Indians go quickly 1-2-3 for the first time here tonight in the third. Just a reminder as you enjoy a cold one tonight to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. We had torrential rains earlier this afternoon here in northeastern Ohio, but boy, it has turned out to be a spectacular evening. Kelly Johnson with a bouncer back to the mound. Scooped nicely by Bauer. One away.
Well, another Sugardale Dollar Dog Night will take place as this series closes on Thursday. Last game for the Yankees. Jeter's last visit to Cleveland. It'll be Dollar Dogs all night long. Visit Indians.com for your tickets.
Here is Zealous Wheeler. Lay down a sacrifice bunt his first time up. If Wheeler looks like a guy who could have been a linebacker, it's because he was. Back in high school, he was actually recruited by a number of different colleges to play linebacker. Grew up in Alabama, which obviously we know is football crazy country. But he chose to go to a state community college in Alabama to play baseball. And guess who some of his teammates were? Derek Holland, Craig Kimbrell. That was Wallace State Community College. Down in Alabama, yeah.
Holland, the pitcher for the Rangers. Kimbrell, the closer for the Braves. Wow.
So obviously it's a pretty good little baseball factory.
No kidding.
Brewers originally chose Wheeler in the 19th round back in 2007. But 5 years later, right at the end of spring training, the Brewers waived him and the Orioles picked him up. But they only kept him for a year. And this past offseason, the Yankees signed him. We watched him swing one time last night, and he almost hit one out of here coming off the bench. But power isn't necessarily something he's shown a lot of throughout his minor league career. He hit 13 home runs in the Eastern League back in 2012. Last year he hit 10 home runs at AAA. Swing and a miss. Bauer strikes him out. His third K tonight, 2 down here in the fourth inning.
Gets him on a good curveball. And this is the old equalizer. You go right ahead, put a little wrinkle in it, and that was a big one. So Bauer gets his third strikeout, second out here in the fourth inning.
Up comes Brett Gardner, who walked and scored in the first, picked up an RBI with a ground out in the second. Breaking ball and a beauty. It's quickly 0-2.
We want to send along our congratulations and best wishes to Michael and Elaine Bobinchek of Chardon, celebrating their 42nd anniversary.
And happy birthday wishes to Kenny Hissong from New London, Ohio, celebrating his 77th birthday tonight right here at Progressive Field.
All right. You can't hear us, but happy birthday.
Oh, he's got the game. Somebody's taping it for him.
You think it?
Oh, yeah. Couldn't have picked a better night to come out to celebrate his birthday
the way
either.
today started, I was thinking to myself, I thought they might call it before I even had to leave home.
Strike 3 called. Bauer with a big curveball to get Gardner looking. His fourth strikeout of the night. 2 coming here in the fourth inning. 3-1, New York.
30,000 fans will get a Kenny Lofton jersey. That'll be courtesy of Key Bank on Saturday. The White Sox will come in for the weekend, face the Indians. You can also enjoy Rally Alley. That'll be outside the left field wall. Over the weekend, a good time had by all. Visit Indians.com and get your tickets.
Nick Swisher, David Murphy, and Yan Gomes due up here in the home half of the fourth for the Tribe. Indians got their run in the first inning. They do have 4 hits against Masahiro Tanaka. Fouled back. In his last start, Tanaka allowed 9 hits and 7 innings of work against the Twins at Target Field. Gave up 4 runs.
Well, what I've seen from Tanaka so far, he has a number of pitches. The cutter, a slider, a changeup, a fastball. 2 different types of splitters. But what he can do, he commands the baseball very well with everything. And everything seems to be down in the zone for the most part. 2 of the hits leading off the first and the second inning were first pitch fastballs.
Now Swisher down in the count now 1-2. Strikes him out. That's 4.
He's getting into a nice little rhythm now. This little breaking ball he's throwing into the left-handers. Down and in. You can see it go straight down, that little slider, and he puts it there. It's just, it falls straight down.
He's retired 5 in a row. Well, Tanaka came into tonight with 130 strikeouts on the year. He had 10 or more strikeouts 3 times in his first 5 starts, but only twice since then.
Well, you know, people start, word starts traveling. The scouts get a hold of him, And with his command, I can see how people would say, look, don't let him get ahead of you.
Yeah.
Get after it early, and maybe he gets a lot of balls put in play early that he can get some outs, and that's better for him because he'll stay around the game longer if you get outs and you make quality pitches. Strikeouts come from getting ahead in count, as we watch Kluber, and then he makes great pitches and he expands the strike zone of the hitters. That's how strikeouts come. It's from pitching from in front.
There's another great example of it.
He's struck out 3 out of the last 4. Come down, another left-handed, another breaking ball down. Same pitch as he got Swisher with. So he's getting a feel for that pitch. Murphy, a guy that normally does a nice job with pitches down in that area with 2 strikes.
And a breaking ball in there for a called strike.
He's thrown 10 strikes in his last 11 pitches, so he is locked in on the zone right now. Wow.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of swings and misses
any
now.
way he wants to throw it down. Down and in, down and away. Look, that's the split.
The 0-2 just kind of punched weakly to second base. And the Indians again are retired in order, and that's 7 in a row set down by Tanaka. Sunnyside Honda at I-71 and Pearl Road in Middleburg Heights. By Levin Furniture. For the best deals on furniture and mattresses, shop Levin's. And by Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. Indians trail it 3-1 as we go on to the 5th inning. And Derek Jeter will lead it off for New York. Jeter drove one to deep center his first time up. Grounded out his last time up to end the 2nd inning. Out of play to the right. Right back up the middle. Backhanded by Kipnis. And he'll throw him out, one away. Our in-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Mark Teixeira looped one in for an RBI single to make it 1-0. And the throwing error by Yan Gomes allowed a second run to come home. Indians got one back on the RBI double by Michael Brantley in the bottom of the 1st. But New York was quick to come back with an RBI ground out to make it 3-1, and that's where we stand. Jacoby Ellsbury. He reached on an error his last time up. He has 2 stolen bases tonight. Quickly grounds it right between the legs of Swisher, the 3rd Indians error of the night. And how about all 3 Indians errors have involved Jacoby Ellsbury?
That's true.
He scored on the error by Gomes in the 1st, and he's reached on errors by Chisenhall and now Swisher.
I mean, that's right through the wickets.
And now Mark Teixeira struck out his last time up. Upstairs with a fastball.
Well, you can't pay too much attention with Ellsbury over there. You got to concentrate on the hitter. Ellsbury, he gets that jump. He already has 2 stolen bases. He'll be off and running again. But you already have an out. Try and get to Sherry here. Don't lose him because you're paying too much attention to the base running.
Tried to hold up, but he went around.
Throw over.
Ellsbury, an explosive base runner. Draws yet another throw. One of the Yankees' big free agent off-season signings. Ellsbury, and of course Tanaka
and McCann.
Brian McCann.
Yeah.
Runner goes.
Did a
Bounce to
nice
first.
job holding the ball. Really a good job by Bauer to hold it. He was off and running, but you get the second out.
Time for a Boston game break. Let's go out to Al once again.
Hey, man, let's head over to Detroit. Believe it or not, the Tigers, who were down 5-0, scored 7 to take a 7-5 lead. Rajay Davis with the RBI single here to make it 6-5, and now it's indeed 7-5, 4th inning in Motown.
All right, thanks, Al. 2 down for Brian McCann, who singled his last time up. Ellsbury bolts for third. Here's the throw. They got him. Oh, what a great throw by Yan Gomes. And Lonnie Chisenhall hustled to the bag to get there to take the throw. And Ellsbury, for whatever reason, trying to steal third with 2 outs, is gunned down to end the inning. When they're almost standing up, don't you?
100% right. I mean, he stole it once earlier, but you got your 5th place hitter up there, a left-handed hitter. McCann, that's, you know, he's paid to drive in runs, and Gomes, the way he's throwing, he just nailed him. Good for him. To me, that's a selfish play. With the way that he can run, there's no reason for him to try and steal third. Let him try and drive you home. You've got a 2-run lead.
I can see with maybe less than 2 outs, you're trying to get there to come home on a sac
There's
fly.
no reason, right? There's no reason for 2 outs to be there.
Yeah.
You're in scoring position. You've got your number 5 hitter at the plate. I don't understand it. If you steal it, they used to say you better be 100% sure because you would be in trouble.
He tried that with Albert Bell at the plate, and you got thrown out. You'd have to answer to him.
Yeah, right.
Chris Dickerson bounced into a fielder's choice his first time up. Masanori Murakami. There's a name that a lot of baseball fans may have never heard of before. But he was actually the first Japanese player to play in the big leagues. And that came back in 1964 when the San Francisco Giants invited 3 Japanese players to spring training. And Masanori Murakami was the guy that made it. But what's interesting about that, Rick, is that there was a 3-decade gap between Murakami's debut with the San Francisco Giants and then when he went back After another year, he went back to Japan. And then Hideo Nomo. 3 decades passed before Hideo Nomo came after Murakami.
Wow.
But I wanted to read you an interesting quote. When Murakami came and pitched with the Giants, Lefty O'Doul, who was a scout at that time and a San Francisco native and a longtime player, he had actually helped to establish a lot of goodwill in baseball in Japan.
Okay.
He said at that time, granted, this is like 50 years ago, quote, "Someday Japan will have many of its sons playing Major League Baseball in America."
Well, the day has arisen. It is here.
Murakami pitched just 2 years with the Giants, went back to Japan, pitched 17 years total in Japan, came back to the States in 1983, again with the Giants at the age of 38 for one last shot. But he was released after a couple of spring training games, just didn't have it anymore. But through last year, more than 40 Japanese-born players had appeared in a big league baseball game. Tanaka, 41. Now, this is according to the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum. So Tanaka's 41. Number 42 is making his debut tonight in Cincinnati, pitching for the Chicago Cubs.
Okay.
Johnson takes the out at first base. Dickerson moves into scoring position. And that pitcher is a left-hander, Tsuyoshi Wada. And he's making his debut. He's a left-hander for the Cubs, and he's got a 5-0 lead against Cincinnati. So,
well, I'll tell you, another one I like is Yu Darvish. He's very, very good.
Well, you know, Nomo Hideki Matsui, remember,
right,
with the Yankees. Ichiro, of course, Koji Uhara turned into a terrific back end of the bullpen. As Dribble Cabrera, a little weak bouncer to first base and an easy play for Kelly Johnson, 2 down. Well, the Indians get the leadoff hit by Dickerson, but then a couple of easy ground outs, so 2 down now for Brantley. We should take a look at what Tanaka's been able to do tonight.
He has locked in after that, the couple of hits in the second inning, after the Kipnis 2-out single. He has really locked it down. Dickerson had a base hit on a 1-0 count, but other than that, he's found it. He's found the strike zone, and he's been doing it with both the slider and the splitter, and moving everything around. And you can see where McCann has his legs spread right there. It's just covering each side of the plate, and that's where he stays, from shin guard to shin guard.
Up and away to Brantley for ball 1. Again, though, as dominant as Tanaka has been, this game, much like last night, the Indians are they're just a big hit away from tying this thing up now. And they've got the right man at the plate. And a strike is called.
Perfect pitch.
Tanaka has given up at least 1 home run in 5 of his last 6 starts.
Right. He has given it up, but I mean, that ball, there's nothing to hit there.
Really brushed him back with that pitch, and it's 2-1. Brantley's done a pretty good job of being able to reset. When any time a pitcher has tried to, I don't know if intimidate's the right word, but any time a pitcher's tried to knock him off the plate, pitch him tight inside, he sort of walks around, resets, and then he gets right back in there and says, okay, try it again.
Reprograms.
Yeah.
What's going on in that mind?
Looked like Michael was trying to tie it up with 1 swing, but Tanaka had the bottom fall out of this pitch.
Split. That was one of those splits that it wasn't a strike to begin with. It was low. It certainly looks. It's at the low part of the strike zone, and the next thing you know, it's down. It's out of there.
Well, Tanaka looking in for the sign with a runner at third and 2 down on the 2-2 pitch. Rips off the facing of the Yankee dugout. That almost took out the new guy. It's Brandon McCarthy.
Yes, yeah, it is. He's starting tomorrow. Better watch out, Bell. He would
Well, we don't want to see that. He's already saw one of those up close and personal.
Yeah.
A scary moment a few years ago.
Yeah, when he was in Arizona, right? Or Oakland, yeah.
Tanaka deals. Brantley lines it. Fair ball. Scoring is Dickerson. Brantley digging for second. Here's the throw. He is safe with a double. Brantley hustling into second base. His second double of the night. His second run batted in. And it cuts the game to a single run now.
How good is that at bat right here with Brantley taking it the other way? I mean, that was the perfect pitch he made on him before to get a strike, and Brantley says, you're not going to get it with 2. Look at that swing. Just, all right, you got me once, but you're not going to get it twice. And stayed on it, and that's the only thing he could do with that pitch. That is great hitting. That's great hustle. Michael Brantley, boy, not intimidated. That's 2 for 3.
5 consecutive multi-hit games.
Well, that's nothing new for him. It seems like he's been doing that all year.
Wow, you have to go back to 1999. Omar Vizquel, the last to do it. Santana, first pitch swinging, pops it to center. Ellsbury makes the catch. 5 complete from Progressive Field. Michael Brantley has driven in both runs for the Indians tonight. They trail it now just 3-2.
Fan photo of the game. You can tweet your photo to hashtag STO fan photo, or a chance to see it in our broadcast brought to you by AT&T.
Well, Trevor Bauer he's been like a heavyweight prize fighter tonight. He was bloodied early, but he refused to go down, and he's been bobbing and weaving.
Well,
and he's found his way to the 6th inning.
Hey, they made 3 errors behind him, and this kid is tough. You know, he may bend a little bit, but he doesn't break.
Yep.
I mean, he's shown me something so far this year. You come back, and he hasn't had his command tonight. He has struggled with it.
Well, that's the other thing. too, Rick. It's not just the defense, the miscues behind him, but he's been fighting himself, especially early. But he refuses to cave in and say, oh, well, I don't have it tonight.
That he does. I'll tell you what, he's tough. He goes after you, and I'll tell you what, he's learning. He's still 23, and he's got a ways to go, but he's a tough kid.
McCann pops one to center, and in comes Brantley to grab it, one away. Great clip of the game from last night. What a job the Indians bullpen did. Carlos Carrasco, Mark Zubchinski, Kyle Crockett, Vinny Pistano. I mean, they just kept coming at him.
97 pitches, and I think 67% strikes. I mean, they were lights out.
John Axford finishing up there. I mean, they gave the Indians a chance.
And we talked about it. When you get into a game like that, your bullpen has to be perfect. They got to go out and throw out zeros for the rest of the game if you have a chance to win. Well, they gave their team a chance to win after a start like Justin had last night, which was a poor start. But I'll tell you what, they still hung in there and had a chance to win the game. That's all you can ask for in a game like that.
Ryan Roberts 0 for 2 tonight. Looks at the ball outside, 3-0. Bullseye. Fouled right back. Got a message from Sports Time Ohio's Jimmy Hanlon.
Oh, where's Jimbo at?
Tee It Up Ohio. He's among the crowd here tonight. He's taking in the ball game. His golf show is blowing up.
Good for him. Tell him to suit up. I may need him to put him in as a defensive replacement tonight.
I think he's retired. He had surgery, for crying out loud.
Oh, he's had enough time to rehab, and he's back in shape.
He had to repair his business elbow so he could get back to golf.
Yeah.
Bauer closing in on 100 pitches tonight. But again, he's worked his way into the 6th inning. And after all that work the bullpen had last night, they did call up Nick Hagedorn for some reinforcement this evening. High pop on the infield. Foul territory. Chisenhall coming in. 2 down. Well, the Indians bullpen, not only was it stellar last night, but over the last 10 games, how about a 1.21 ERA?
Well, and this is the number 1 used bullpen in the league. So these guys have had their share of work. You just hope that the starters can get on a roll and start giving some innings, because, you know, you get into August and those are the dog days. But I'll tell you, that bullpen has held up pretty well.
Ichiro, first ball swinging. Slaps one towards center. Late break by Brantley, but he's able to recover and make the catch. Flashing a big smile. I had it all the way. Yankees go 1-2-3 for the second time tonight. 3-2 New York.
Entering the bottom half of the 6th inning as we check it out on our view from our Panini's overstuffed cam. Entering into the ballpark, looking good.
Lonnie Chisenhall going to lead off for the Indians here in the home half of the 6th. Tanaka fires and a one-hop smash into right field for Chisenhall. The Indians get their leadoff man aboard for the 2nd inning in a row.
4 times tonight out of the 6. They have had that leadoff man aboard.
Snaps an 0 for 9 for Lonnie.
Hey, he had a pretty good pitch. Now, that ball was down and away. He went out and got it and turned on it into the hole and pulled it out there. That's number 7. Hit number 7 for the Tribe.
Well, Nick Swisher 0 for 2 tonight, 1 for 6 in the series. Yankees go with a 3-man shift on the right side. Interesting in that they keep Jeter on the left side. So he's at third base. Truly foreign territory for Derek Jeter. When you consider that since he came up into the big league, he's never played anywhere but shortstop.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he stood over there a few times in batting practice or whatever.
But isn't it amazing you play that long and not get moved off the shortstop position?
Yeah.
Usually you start losing some range and they say, hey, how about third or how about here or DH?
When you play 20 years and you're playing it at shortstop, it's hard to believe. Omar did it.
Yep.
Omar did it. Jeter did it.
Ozzie Smith probably, right?
Yeah.
He didn't play anywhere but short.
Louis Aparicio. I'm thinking Mark Belanger. But I don't know. David Concepcion.
Oh, wow. There's another good one. Yeah.
Right.
Bounced it in front of the plate. McCann did a nice job to pick it.
You're going to see McCann on a backhand. Sometimes you get lucky right there, and that ball was stuck in the glove. That's something you got to watch for when you're a base runner. Watch for that splitter in the dirt. You can take an extra base. It's a 1-run ball game, and 1 base means a lot right now.
Swisher with a high fly ball, deep center field.
He can't see
Ellsbury
it.
back on the track. It's gone! Nick Swisher with a 2-run homer to put the Indians in front. His 2nd home run of the series. A towering blast to deep center field. Ellsbury was tracking it as though he had a play on it, but he just ran out of real estate.
He lost it. He didn't see it. If that ball would have stayed in the park, he never would have caught it. He couldn't find it. I don't know if we'll have a shot of it, but this ball had the distance. He got underneath it. Watch Ellsbury. Where is it? He's looking at his right fielder. He had no clue where it was. And Tanaka now, for the 6th time in the last 7 games, has given up a long ball.
And this is the first out of the inning as Murphy grounds out 1 away. Mike Pocta telling me that 5 of Swisher's 7 home runs this year have given the Indians the lead. So for Swisher, it's about quality, not necessarily quantity. That was a big one right there. What a game changer as the Indians have scored 4 runs off Tanaka. That equals the most he has allowed in any start this year. And for Tanaka, the home run problem continues. That's a home run now in 6 of his last 7 starts. After he had not allowed any home runs in his previous 5 outings.
Remember, Swisher was down in that count 0-2. And then he ended up, there was a ball 1, and then he hit a 1-2 pitch. So that's tough to hit that ball in the air off this guy.
Combs straightened up. And the count is 2-0. So Tanaka has given up the lead, and Scott Atchison warming now in the bullpen for the Indians. And a strike is called. Threw it by him. It was up and away, and it's 2-2. A little bit low.
Tell you, another a good approach. The first time they've ever faced Tanaka. They've battled. They've hung in there. He settled in until the 5th inning where Brantley got him again with a 2-out base hit on a terrific pitch.
Well, we mentioned it, Rick. Last time out was the first time that he gave up more than 3 earned runs in any start this year against the Twins. 4 runs, 9 hits in 7 innings. The Indians, 4 runs, 8 hits.
Yeah.
And still batting here in the 6th.
Right. That's the big hit by Nick Swisher.
Whoa, was that a big one?
Yes, it was.
Just as last night's was. It got him on the board. It got him
Gave
some
their
life.
First hit.
Yeah. Gomes pops one in the air. Shallow right. In comes Ichiro. 2 down. Let's go back and take a look at this. You mentioned 1-2 pitch.
That might have been that slider he wanted down and in, but I'll tell you what, it stayed up and it was out over the plate. Swisher got enough of it. Ellsbury, watch Ellsbury. He lost it. But it didn't matter. It bounced and hit that other guy in the face and rolled back onto the field.
Well, you're kind of at that twilight hour here.
Yes, you are. You look up and that ball is awfully tough to find up in the sky.
Funny, you wouldn't have thought that would be a problem earlier this afternoon, say around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was raining to beat the band. And then it continued to drizzle for about another hour or so, and then, boom, the sun came out. Roller to second base. Dickerson is thrown out to end the inning. But Lonnie Chisenhall with a single, and Nick Swisher with a big blast to center field. And the Indians now lead it 4-3. At Classic Park in Eastlake for Celebrity Softball. The event features Cleveland's pro football players in a home run derby before the game. And then photos, autographs are all available Log on to captainsbaseball.com for tickets and all the information. And then they're going directly from the softball game to open up training camp.
Yeah.
Well, it won't be much longer than that.
That's
Maybe
true.
a week.
That is true. End of July.
Well, Trevor Bauer back out here now.
With the lead.
Trying to gut his way maybe through another inning. And he goes at him with a first pitch strike.
Well, his first 3 innings, he was struggling to find things. He was bouncing balls. He didn't have that curveball. The difference in his first 3 in pitches in his last 3, very big. He's settled down. Yeah, 67 pitches in his first 3 innings at 58% strikes. 31 in his last 3 at 68%, and that was pitch number 100.
Well, you could say, the way he was kind of going through the early part of this game, Terry Francona was like, hey, you have to suck up some innings here. The bullpen was used extensively last night. We need you to try to eat up a few innings. But I think now, the way he's pitched innings 4, 5, and 6, I think the way he pitched, what he has shown Terry Francona, and now they've given him a lead, I think this is Terry saying, you know what? This kid has earned a chance to go out there and pitch with the lead now.
Well, remember a start he had against the Angels back in mid-June, June 16th, where the bullpen was fried, and he had to go out there. He pitched 6 2/3. Remember, he pitched 119 pitches in that game, and really did a tremendous job knowing that he had to go out and give Terry some length.
And said afterwards, I'd have gone 150.
Right. Well, that's what he prepares himself for.
Rolled to short. Cabrera scoops it up, throws, got him. 1 away. Once again, let's send it down to Katie Witham.
Well, Matt, yesterday Corey Kluber walked into the clubhouse to see all of his teammates wearing #VoteKluber white T-shirts in support of getting him into the All-Star game. They've also pasted Kluber K's all over Progressive Field, including inside the clubhouse. But, guys, he still needs your help at home. You can log on to Indians.com or MLB.com/vote and get your votes in. Remember, they've got to be in before Thursday at 4 p.m. Matt, for now, we'll send it back up to you guys.
All right, thanks, Katie, for that word on All-Star voting for Corey Kluber. Still an opportunity to help get him there. Zealous Wheeler takes a look at another strike, and Trevor Bauer starting to feel it here. 0-2 the count. Wheeler struck out his last time up, and a fastball locked him up. Oh, man, that was a clinic, a 3-pitch clinic. And there are 2 down here in the 7th inning. 5th strikeout tonight for Bauer.
Well, he got him looking for that curveball, and then the next thing you know, the express goes by on the inside part of the plate. He couldn't pull the trigger. And Bauer, yes, you say he feels it. That was a great pitch. Umpires love that. He gets to do his move right there on the called third.
The Yankees started this game 3 for 6 hitting against Bauer. 1 for their last 18 since. So that's a credit to Bauer and the way he's pitched. And he's had to work around a couple of guys who reached on error, too.
Yes, he has. This kid's a battler.
Gardner has grounded out, struck out his last 2 times up. Popped back out of play. Another 0-2 count. A few folks in the crowd recognizing the effort Bauer has put forth here tonight. The 0-2 offering. Slap foul out of play down the left side.
For Bauer, he has had 12 0-2 1-2 counts tonight. And yeah, I mean, this could be get that third out in this 7th inning and turn it over to your pen. That'll be huge. He did not. He tried to get him to chase, would not do it.
Bauer rocks into the windup and the 1-2. Struck him out with a breaking ball. Bauer with his 6th strikeout of the night. The Yankees go 1-2-3 again, and Bauer has set down 7 straight. Time now for the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Life is hard. Buying a car shouldn't be. Well, I'll tell you, Trevor Bauer, gutsy performance here tonight, talking to Mickey Callaway in the Indians dugout. He gave him 7 strong innings, gave up 2 in the first, 1 unearned, 1 more run allowed in the second, and then he shut him down after that.
Tell you what, he showed toughness tonight. After the first 3 innings, where we told you he really threw a lot of pitches. He settled in, he found it. He locked in. He picked up his defense. He just kept his offense around until they got a couple of big hits behind Brantley and Swisher. And he did the rest. Well done.
Jason Kipnis lifts one in the air to left field. Gardner has it for out number 1. It's a full day of MLB action Saturday, beginning with the Cardinals and Brewers on Fox Sports 1. Then it's Baseball Night in America as the Pirates face off against the Cincinnati Reds. Doubleheader begins Saturday at 3:30 Eastern on FS1 and continues at 7 Eastern on Fox. Plus, it will stream live on Fox Sports Go. As Dribble Cabrera for 3 tonight. And a first pitch strike. High pop right at the plate. McCann ditches the mask, but he's called off by Wheeler. 2 away. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Michael Brantley, as he has done all season long, is a multi-dimensional player. Defensively, offensively, runs the bases aggressively, hits for average, hits for power, drives in runs.
Yeah, 2 big doubles tonight, driving in a pair. And playing center field. You're going to see him out in center for a long time now.
Presumably till the end of the month.
I would think so.
I mean,
depending on when Bourne comes back, but
could Bourne could be into August. You just don't know. Brantley with a long fly ball, deep right field. Gone to Souvenir City. Michael Brantley with his 3rd hit of the night. His 14th home run of the season and RBI number 60. And the Indians have hung more runs on Tanaka than any other team in baseball this year. Tribe now leads it 5-3.
Boy, Michael Brantley, another 2-out hit. This one, the long ball. And boy, I'll tell you what, he hasn't had any problem with Tanaka. 2 more home runs. This one is an insurance run he tacks on.
That foul tip went right back into the face mask of McCann. See Swish talking up Brantley. Now Kipnis is getting into the action. And Brantley just... Oh, you got to love it when they're having fun. Interesting, Rick, in that as good as Tanaka has been this year, that's the 4th time now.
Yeah.
He's given up 2 home runs in a ball game.
I just saw that, yes.
Santana 0 for 3 on the night. And he lines one into center field, a base hit. Well, the Indians have done a terrific job of being resilient here tonight. They got down early, but they have continued to fight. They have scored more runs and accumulated more hits than any other team this year has against Masahiro Tanaka. He has been terrific all year long, but the Indians have handed him his lunch here tonight. He leaves with 2 outs in the 7th inning. And our Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen will be for the left-hander Matt Thornton. He's coming on when we come back. Minnesota. Derek Jeter will be taking the field in his last All-Star game in what promises to be an unforgettable night. Special coverage begins at 4:30 on Fox Sports 1, followed by the game at 7:30, only on Fox. Now, Matt Thornton, left-hander, coming on now for New York. He'll be facing the left-handed hitting Lonnie Chisenhall. Thornton, who for so many years was a fixture in the White Sox bullpen, before that was Seattle. He's 0-2 this year, but a 2.33 ERA in 35 appearances.
Yeah, the Indians have had their days of facing Thornton. We used to see him, it seemed like every day when we played the White Sox.
Well, there
high
for a while.
fastball pitcher for the most part.
Yeah, there for a while. It seemed like every time Grady Sizemore came up, Matt Thornton was in the game. You know, back in those years against between the Indians and White Sox from around like 05, 06.
He has been around for a long time. He's still throwing in the mid-90s for a left-hander coming out of the pen.
He's always been kind of a free and easy mid-90s guy, too. Lonnie doesn't like it. It's 2-2. Starting in 2006 with the White Sox, Thornton started a string of 8 consecutive seasons with 60 or more appearances. That's still intact coming in, going to this year. Last year he split the season between Chicago and Boston and finished right at 60 appearances. But that speaks to how durable, and you want to talk about consistent. Every year you look at his ERA. It's right around 2-something or 3-something. He's never had that, oh boy, what happened? He was a 5-something ERA.
Out of a bullpen guy.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times that doesn't happen.
He has been steady as she goes. I'm sure there have been years where he's been, more dominant than others. I mean, he had a year 2 years ago, he took 10 losses out of the White Sox bullpen. But his ERA was a very respectable 3.46, and he pitched in 74 games.
He pitched in a lot of close ones.
Lonnie rips it to deep right field, down the line, but he's out in front of it, foul.
You got that fastball in, and Chisenhall turns on it. But he is out in front of it a little bit. Don't know if it would have had the distance, but it certainly would have been a knock, at least a double.
Santana's at first with 2 down, and the 2-2 is low and away. Santana will try to get a head start on this 3-2 pitch. And it's fouled back.
Tell you, he's having a good at-bat. He's fouled off some tough pitches. He laid off the only breaking ball he saw with two strikes.
And a slash fouled on the left side, out of play.
Already 10 pitches.
There goes Santana again, and another foul ball.
He is swinging it. Thornton's probably out there figuring, what do I have to do to get one by this guy? This will be pitch number 12. He has, out of his 11 pitches, 6 foul balls.
Bounced foul again. And a payoff pitch again. This time hit in the air, deep left center field. Ellsbury back. He's got room, and he'll make the catch to end the inning. But Michael Brantley with a second home run of the night for the Tribe. His third hit in the game, and the 5-3 Indians lead. Be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Coming up after the ballgame here on Sports Time Ohio, it's Indians Live, brought to you by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. Al, Jason, Jensen, they'll have all the highlights and the breakdown. They might have cut Jensen loose.
Why's that?
They might have sent him home early.
Why?
Pre-game, post-game's a little too much for him. You give him pre-game.
They're stretching him out.
Post-game off. They're trying to stretch him out.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Brian Shaw will come on now for the 42nd time this season. He's got the 2, 3, and 4 hitters due up here in the 8th inning now for New York. And Shaw with a first pitch strike to Jeter. He is 0 for 3 on the night. Bounced foul, third base side. No balls and 2 strikes. The count on Jeter. How many autographs do you suppose Jeter has signed in his career?
Who knows? Who knows?
He's probably signed his name 20,000 times at least.
Oh, God, that's...
You think that's conservative?
Oh, very.
Inside he missed. Wow. You're not kidding. If he signs his name 100 times a day just during the season, that's 16,000 autographs.
Right.
That's just during the season.
Right. And you think he doesn't go out after the games or anything like that?
And I think 100 autographs before a game is probably conservative because, he spends time down there whether it's before or after batting practice.
I'm sure. Doesn't even include fan mail. Don't even know if if he signs it or what. But
3 balls and 2 strikes. Shaw was ahead of him, but Jeter's been able to work the count back to full now. Payoff pitch. Swing and a miss. Shaw got him with a slider.
a great slider. And we'll show it to you on our Wendy's slow motion replay. You can see the break to it. Had Jeter out in front. Great pitch. Strikeout and first out of the inning.
And up comes Jacoby Ellsbury. This guy's got some funky mojo working for him tonight. The last 2 times up, he has hit the ball right at an Indians defender, and both times it went right through him. He went after it, and Ellsbury's barking at Gonzalez now. Although I think he might have called that a strike as opposed to him swinging at it. I think it's just he called the pitch a strike. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't call it on the swing.
Now the 2-2 from Shaw. In the air center field, Brantley got a great jump on it, and he'll run it down 2 away. Now Trevor Bauer got the start tonight. He went 7 innings, only 2 earned runs, 4 hits, walked 2, struck out 6.
Scattered 4.
But this was one of those games, you can't look at the numbers. You had to watch this game to see what he had to deal with, whether it was fighting his own mechanics, some defensive misplays behind him, but he really, and he was down early. So you're down, you don't want to give up any more.
2 in the first, and the Indians come back and scored 1. They got 1 more in the second.
But he shut him down after that. Retired the last 7 in a row. But what was really impressive is that he finished out the top half of the 6th, and then in the bottom of the 6th, Swisher hits the 2-run homer to give the Indians the lead. He goes back out for the 7th, sets them down 1, 2, 3, and struck out the last 2 hitters. You know, we have seen too many times this year the Indians score, and then in response, the other team comes right back and scores and takes the momentum away.
A lot of times.
Two one. Hit hard but foul. Two balls, 2 strikes. 2 down here in the 8th. Shaw's 2-2 pitch. Hit on the ground. That's Chisenhall. Throws him out. The Yankees go 1-2-3. And we go to the bottom of the 8th. 5-3 Cleveland. Swisher. Rick, that was a heck of an at-bat he had against Tanaka back in the 6th inning.
Well, especially the way this guy pitches when he's ahead in the count. But he got ahead of Swisher. There was a good sinking fastball. There was the splitter down 0-2. He tried to get him to chase one, and then he left one up for Nick. He got it right at the right time. Ellsbury couldn't see it. Gets over the yellow line. And that was a 2-run home run, boy, to give the Indians a lead, and a big hit for Swisher. And as Tommy said, the home runs that he has hit to give the team the lead.
Yeah, 5 out of 7.
Yeah.
Here's Sean Kelly coming on to face Swisher, Murphy, and Gomes in the bottom of the 8th. And Cody Allen is getting ready now in the Indians bullpen. Pitch outside for ball 1. The other thing that it's important to remember tonight, especially because we threw it out there at the outset, foul up the first base side. Not only had the Indians scored more runs and rang up more hits than anybody else has against Masahiro Tanaka this year, but coming into tonight, when facing an opponent for the first time, Tanaka was 10-0 with a 1.85 ERA.
Yeah.
So teams that hadn't seen him really had not fared well at all.
Well, they had a pretty good approach against him tonight with 10 hits.
Swisher chased one up high and strikes out. One away. Well, what do you see here tonight from the Indians and their approach?
Well, I'll tell you what, it started early. Kipnis jumped after the fastball. Brantley, he got a pitch inside and he got after it. And that was David Murphy, first pitch base hit. Then Kipnis goes the other way on the pitch. And that was the at-bat right there for Michael Brantley. took them the other way, 2 out, base hit, and then they had a couple of long balls. So Brantley has 3 extra base hits off him. Swisher got the home run to give him the lead, and Kipnis, his first 2 at bats. So the left-handers, they really did a nice job off that guy. Anytime you're down in the count like Swisher was, and you can get a hit off him, because I think hitters were hitting about $140 off him with 2 strikes.
Yeah,
you tip your cap. I don't care who you are to do that. That's really good.
In that sequence we saw there, it seemed like, if my memory's right, other than the home run that Swisher hit, which was either a hanging split or a hanging breaking ball, most of those were fastballs that guys, if the pitch was away, the fastball was away, they just took the fastball away and took the base hit to the opposite field. The fastball was in. They turned on the fastball and pulled him for base hits. But they didn't take them. They weren't spotting them a lot of fastballs. If they got it, they got after it.
Absolutely. That's right. You get after it. You don't let him get to his dangerous pitches.
In-game box score courtesy of Hyundai. Now look at the damage the Indians have done here tonight.
Well, and you talk about those hits. 4 of those hits came on Tanaka's first pitch. 1 came on the second and 2 in the third. So there's
early in the count.
Yeah, earlier in the count than later.
Yan Gomes looking to join the hit parade. Sends one high in the air to deep center, but Ellsbury has room. And the Indians go 1-2-3. Leaves it up to Cody Allen. Chicken Al's coming on when we come back. Side furniture. Trevor Bauer, other than the 2 runs, and only one of those runs was earned, he did not give up the big inning. He did not cave in. That was key tonight. And the Indians, we just showed you the video. They got a lot of their hits early in counts. And they hung up some big numbers on Tanaka. Now Cody Allen. He's got Brian McCann, Brian Robertson, Ichiro Suzuki to get through here in the 9th inning. Allen looking for his 10th save on the year now.
He's going to end up facing McCann, Roberts, and Suzuki. Due up in the Yankee lineup.
Don't forget to stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. In his last 10 appearances, Cody Allen has worked 10 2/3 innings with 13 strikeouts and only 1 run allowed. And this next stat is a credit to Trevor Bauer and the 1 scoreless inning now by Brian Shaw. But the Yankees, their first time up, they had 3 hits in their first 6 at bats. Since then, 1 for 22.
Wow. Yeah, they certainly. It was like that last night. A lot of zeros at the end of the ball game. They did the same thing again tonight.
Well, here's Brian McCann now. McCann 1 for 3 in the ball game. Breaking ball in there for a strike, and McCann doesn't like it. They've been doing a lot of complaining. Line to left field. Right there is Dickerson. One away. Brian Roberts 0 for 3. And a breaking ball in for a strike. Just missed there, and it's 1-1. Rip foul.
You know, he has that good curveball again tonight. They use it as that changeup, the wiggle.
Now the 1-2. Well, with the breaking ball, but it hung up. Upstairs with the express. And the count is full now. Roberts, then Ichiro Suzuki here in the ninth for New York. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. 2 down in the ninth.
Yeah, he came back. Volkan had to throw him a strike. He challenged him. Let's go. There's a low fastball. I mean, right at the knees, and it stayed there. And look, when that ball is down, that thing, that's like a little dart going in there. It looked like it had some pretty good tail to it. Gets the second out.
Coming into this game tonight, Rick, the Indians, when the opposition scores first, were 13-31. New York, when they held the lead after 3 innings, 40-18. So that's what the Indians had staring at them in the middle innings here tonight when they were down after 4 innings by a score of 3-1. Odds against them, especially with Tanaka on the hill. But boy, what a job they did tonight as a team collectively. There were some missteps along the way. There were 3 errors committed, but boy, they kept fighting. Trevor Bauer pitched his guts out. And the Indians' bats got the best of Tanaka. Not many teams can say that this year. The 1-2 pitch to Ichiro. Just missed outside. He couldn't get him to chase after it. And it's 2-2. Cody Allen with a 1-2. Swing and a miss. He struck him out to end the ball game. The Indians with a come from behind win over the Yankees tonight to even the series at a game apiece. 5-3 is the final score. The Indians go to 44-45. The Yankees drop to 45-44. The win to Trevor Bauer. He's 3-4. The save to Cody Allen. It's his 10th. The losing pitcher is Masahiro Tanaka, who falls to 12-4 on the year. What a terrific job for the Indians here tonight. And think about this, folks. The Yankees finished the game 1 for their last 25 at the plate.
Well, that's a tribute to the pitching. The Indians really settled down. The offense came back, got some big hits, and they go on to win it. And they matched the score last night, a pair of 5-3 ball games here in the first 2 games of this 4-game series.
Talk about big hits, Rick. How about our KeyBank key play of the game?
Yeah, let's go back to it. Nick Swisher down in the count, 1-2. And he's going to get one with a runner on base. Looked like a little breaking ball. And he hit high and deep to center field. It just gets over the wall. That's a 2-run homer. I give him a 4-3 lead. Tack on a Brantley solo shot. It's 5-3. That was our key play of the game, brought to you by KeyBank.
So the Indians with a big win here tonight to even the series up. We've got some final thoughts on this one when we come back.